Morning to you. How you doing?
Good morning. It's a beautiful morning in Las Vegas. Good to talk with you, Bill.
It looks great out there. It's rainy in New York, so you win on this one. Where did that comment come from last night?
Well, it came from everything that I've seen on the campaign trail. Nearly every day I'm talking to moms and dads across the United States, and if there's one thing that grips the heart of a mother, it's to lose their home, because that's the home that they manage. That's where they raise their children. And so for women, there's something very important about losing your security base when you lose your home, and it's just something that's fundamental to mothers across the United States.
But in the state of Nevada, the foreclosures are through the roof. I mean, there probably right now is not a state that's struggling more with real estate than the state of Nevada. Now, listen,
that's exactly right.
I want to roll out a little clip from last night. The audience to listen carefully to how this unwinds, and I want to ask you a very specific question about the tone of this debate last night. Listen here.
Even the Obama administration chose to reject part of Obamacare last Friday when they tried to throw out the Class Act. The government can't even afford that part and has to throw it out, and now the administration is arguing with itself. We saw the President of the United States engage American troops in a fourth conflict in a foreign land. This is historic. This is how disrespected the United States is in the world today, and it's because of President Obama's failed policies. The cake is baked. Barack Obama will be a one-term president.
All right, now there was a lot of back and sniping at one another, and I don't know ultimately how effective it was for the audience. There are occasions, though, we tried to turn the focus away from each other and on the president. Was that effective?
Well, I think the candidate that I was arguing with last night was Barack Obama and failed policies, because there's no question he's done tremendous, almost irreparable damage in some cases to the economy. I know that we can turn it around, but we should have been in real recovery a long time ago. They tell us we're in recovery, but all across America, Americans don't feel like it's recovery at all.
And you see that in Nevada. But listen, back to the point, though, you were one of the first to take a shot at Herman Cain's economic plan. So the shots were coming from you as well.
Well, we were asked to comment on the plan, and again, I'm a former federal tax lawyer. This has been part of my professional background, and so I needed to talk about the very real consequences of adding a new tax on the backs of Americans. That's why the Cain tax, I think you saw it was roundly criticized by most of the candidates, but probably one of the biggest issues is the fact that it's, in essence, a value-added tax, because every time you turn a profit, between every vendor, every manufacturer of something, you have a 9% sales tax. But the one point that didn't come up last night is when goods come into the United States from a foreign country, there's only one time that good will be taxed. That's at the point of sale. But for American manufacturers, that good will be taxed at every stage of production. So we're going to even disadvantage our manufacturers even more through the Cain tax than we will foreign imports.
Okay, now listen, there has been a lot reported about staff members not sticking with you, leaving your campaign. We're just talking about money right now. Money has been an issue for you. Can you make it to the caucuses in Iowa January 3rd at this rate?
Well, we're doing well. We posted money in the bank after this quarter. Of course, we'd love to have all your viewers go to MicheleBauchman.com and continue to help us. We're very proud because, Bill, we had 97,000 donations this last quarter. That's breathtaking, with an average donation of $42. We're a movement. This is a voice and this is a movement, and we're very thrilled about that. So we've got a wonderful campaign, a wonderful staff. We're very tight. We love each other. We work together really well. We're excited about where this campaign is headed.
All right, you talked about the moms. What's your message for fathers, dads in America?
My message for dads is they're very worried about being able to have a job, to hold on to their job, to provide for their families. And I want them to know, with my plan, real jobs, right now, we're going to create millions of high-paying jobs all across the United States. That's what a dad wants to do, provide for himself, his wife, and his children. And I'll do that with real jobs right now at MicheleBauchman.com.
Okay.
It's my comprehensive plan to turn the economy around.
Thank you for your time. 75 days to Iowa. We'll wait till then. Michele Bauchman.
Yes, it is.
Thank you for your time in Vegas. Okay, we'll talk again. All right. And his plan for putting America back on track.
Work on the assumption that government's not very capable of managing almost anything, so you shouldn't put that much trust into government.
And Republican presidential candidate Ron Paul says if he is elected president, he's not going to mess around. He will slash $1 trillion from our federal budget. And last night during the debate in Nevada, he explained how. Listen.
As soon as the government spends money, eventually it's a tax. Sometimes we put a direct tax on the people, sometimes we borrow the money, and sometimes we print the money. So spending is the tax. That is the reason I offered the program to cut $1 trillion out of the first year budget that I offered.
You hear the huge applause for that idea. I'm joined now by Texas Congressman and presidential candidate Ron Paul. Good morning to you, sir. Good to have you here today.
Good morning.
Good. So how did you think it went last night for you and just overall in terms of the tenor of the evening?
Well, I think very well, and I think the debate was run well because I think there was a better balance on time. There are some events I don't get as much time, and I felt like I had a fair amount of time to express myself.
You know, let's go through some of the ideas that you have for cutting $1 trillion from the U.S. budget if you're elected. It would be to eliminate the Education Department and the Energy Department, the Commerce Department, Interior, and also Housing and Urban Development. Some of those would get some cuts to their agency budgets, cuts to EPA, cuts to FDA, eliminate foreign aid was also among your ideas, and to cut defense as well. You know, I guess the biggest hurdle that you would have is that the president, you know, sort of only has one say in this matter. How would you ever get all that through Congress?
Well, I mean, you have to get a consensus. If I am to be elected president, a consensus comes. The people, you know, would have to change the Congress to some degree, but a lot of members of Congress will change their attitude if they know that the sentiment with the country is in favor of what I'm talking about. And already it is demonstrated that the American people are sick and tired of what they're getting. They're out on the streets right now. I mean, we're in the midst of a worldwide debt crisis. It's a sovereign debt crisis that if we don't deal with it, it's going to be catastrophic. And I don't think people realize how serious it is, and that's why I think it takes a serious approach. And quite frankly, I think the economy is going to blossom if we just get the government out of the way and quit spending this money and let the people spend their money. So I believe this is beneficial to all of us.
Yeah, some of the most animated response came to the idea, though, of cutting the defense budget. I want to replay something from last night from Newt Gingrich and get your thoughts on what he had to say about that.
I helped found the Military Reform Caucus. I'm a hawk, but I'm a cheap hawk. But the fact is to say I'm going to put the security of the United States up against some arbitrary budget number is suicidally stupid.
Suicidally stupid, he says that would be. What say you, Mr. Paul?
Well, that would be if you ignore the budget, because the budget threat in the domestic economy is the biggest threat to our national security. Just think of how the economy brought the Soviets down on their knees. They had all the military power they wanted, but economically it was unsustainable and their empire collapsed. So I would say that he's looking at the wrong problem. And besides, it's wrong to equate military spending with defense. I don't want to cut defense. I want a better defense, a stronger defense, but I want to defend this country. I don't want to defend the borders between Afghanistan and Pakistan. I want to defend the borders between Mexico and the United States. And there's a big difference of defending this country and spending endlessly. But I think it shows a lack of understanding of economics if they think that they can spend money endlessly, that the budget doesn't matter, and that you can run up these deficits. We're in the midst of a worldwide sovereign debt crisis, and we better come to realize how serious it is.
Or it may be right in front of us, I think a lot of people would say. So let's talk about, you know, rather than going after the entitlements, you're putting your focus more on government bureaucracy and eliminating departments, eliminating government spending. How do those numbers add up in terms of getting rid of those departments? Obviously, you'd lose a lot of jobs. I saw a number in the 200,000 range for jobs lost if you cut all those departments. You know, but how does that sort of, you know, how much does that get us where we need to be, I guess, without tackling entitlements?
You do, but eventually you do, but you don't put them out immediately. A lot of those jobs are eliminated through attrition. So as the economy grows, then these numbers are absorbed. We sent 5 million people home after World War II, and the economy was blooming, and they were absorbed easily. So if you could correct the economy, a couple 100,000 are necessary for the workforce. They're transferred from government employees to private employees. But the plan that I have does not put them out immediately. It's through attrition over a 3, 4, 5-year period of time because it's gradual. The balanced budget comes in 3 years. But the first year, to show the whole country that we're serious, we cut $1 trillion of all this unnecessary bureaucratic spending and get us back to a constitutional government. And I think the people are with us on this. This is why there's demonstrations in the streets. What I'm trying to do is prevent the violence that we're seeing in the European streets, and just look at what's going on in Greece. So the world is threatened with the same problem as Greece is, and I'm trying to prevent that from happening here.
But isn't some of that a reaction to some of the programs that have been cut? And that's quickly, if you can, sir. But once you start cutting these things, people start to get very upset when those checks aren't coming in the mail.
You're absolutely right, and that's where the real challenge is, because right now more people are getting checks than the people who are paying. But that's unsustainable, so you have to convince people it's in their best interest that the government get out of the way, and the government's broke.
Yeah.
We're broke and we can't sustain it, but that's why I go after overseas spending first and not the entitlement. I don't cut Social Security benefits nor health care. At the same time, I can find enough cuts where we can work our way out of this. If not, everybody loses, because we're going to have runaway inflation and all these programs are going to go broke, and it won't work.
Congressman, you have spent your career talking about this, and you have a bigger stage to talk about it now than you ever have before, and it's putting that all on the table. So we appreciate you being with us today, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You know what he says every